time is 8:41.
Now, Baghdad Zoo was one of the biggest in the Middle East, but as the war raged around it, hundreds of animals died, all were left to fend for themselves in quite filthy and disgusting conditions.
Yes, but in 2003, one man decided to enter the war zone in order to try to rescue the animals trapped there. His name was Lawrence Anthony. He's now told his story in a new book. It's called Babylon's Ark, and he's here to tell us about it.
Hello there, Lawrence.
Hi, good morning. Good morning to you.
So, when did you realise that there was a problem here and that you were going to be the one to try to fix it?
I phoned American Central Command and asked them if they had any contingency plans for the zoo, which was the biggest zoo in the Middle East, and they said no, they hadn't. And there was nobody going to be looking after them, so I got to Kuwait and decided to take responsibility and try and do something.
What happened then during the fight for Baghdad? What happened to the animals? What happened to the people who were looking after them?
The Fedayeen took over the park that surrounds the zoo, moved in 10 days before, put all the staff off, so the animals were left without food and water. And then a huge battle was fought through the park and into the zoo. Americans mortared positions, tanks were going between the cages, so it was absolutely terrible. Those animals must have been
in a terrible state.
Terrible.
Dehydrated, starving, and, of course, suffering from stress from all that.
Absolutely. It was absolutely shocking, just shocking, I must say.
Were there some animals that you thought, I can't save these, I can't rescue them?
You know, I must tell you, when I first got there, my first thought was to shoot the lot. They were it was so bad. They were locked in cages, they were dying of thirst, some were dying of, hunger. It was just a mess. And it was took a large decision on my part to say I'm going to stay here. There's a war going on and try and save them. It was a bit of a difficult decision.
Just looking at some of the pictures there, bears, big cats. I mean, you say one of the largest zoos around. I mean, just about everything imaginable there.
That's it. This is Uday Hussein's lions. They were being looked after by the special forces. They didn't do too badly, actually. Rumoured to be man-eaters. And we actually had people come to the zoo and tell us they wanted us to kill the lions, and I said I wouldn't do that without proof that this was the case, and they couldn't come up with proof.
Okay.
So did you manage to protect all the animals?
There were 650 animals and birds there. When I got there, only 35 were still alive. The looters had stolen hundreds. Baghdad was starving, so they were stealing the animals to eat. So when I got there, the first thing to do was try and secure the zoo. And, we did it with American soldiers in their off time. We had South African mercenaries fighting in Iraq who came across and said, we'll help. And they helped secure the zoo. So it was really a hodgepodge. It was chaos at the time.
600 animals, and there were only 30 left.
Only 30 left.
So what were you doing? Did you live with the troops then, presumably?
I lived with the tank crews that took Baghdad. They took me in, gave me 3 bottles of water a day and my ration packs every day, took me to the zoo every day, dropped me off and picked me up in the evening. But it was, it was a very tough times, but it was also a great adventure because it brought out the best in people. We had individual American soldiers putting down their rifles and coming in to help. We had Iraqis who were fighting in the Republican Guard against the Americans just 10 days before were at the zoo helping, working with the Americans. We had zookeepers who were walking through a war-torn city to get to work every day. Everyone was trying to help these animals. And then the most amazing things, we were conducting raids into the city to animals at the Uday Hussein's palaces and so.
They kept as pets, presumably.
Yeah, tigers and cheetahs and all sorts of lions. So we'd have a Humvee with an American off-duty soldier with Iraqi citizens and South African civilians all going off into a war zone to get animals and bring them back to the zoo again, and we could take care of them. It was just a most amazing time, I must say.
So what's the situation like there now?
Well, the zoo, we eventually got persuaded. The Americans spent a lot of money on the zoo, and I must thank them very much for that. A lot of money. So the zoo's standards are way better than it was before the war even. So it does have a happy ending in that regard. The zoo, the animals are doing well today. It is funded. We actually got the zoo directors into other zoos. They actually came to London to study in zoos and, lift up their animal husbandry skills. So things are much better there, today than they were even before the war, I think.
Well, Lawrence, great to hear that. Thank you very much indeed for coming in to tell us all about it.
Thank you very much for having me.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Now, it's 8:45, and Annie Leibovitz's work with magazines like Rolling Stone and Vanity